The night enveloped the Corvallis estate in a heavy stillness, occasionally disrupted by the muted murmurs of medical personnel and the distant beeping of equipment. Within the luxurious confines of the family estate, Eleanor Corvallis, adorned in a hospital gown, battled the pangs of childbirth. Her voice, a symphony of pain, echoed through the sterile corridors, mingling with the whispered concerns of gathered family members. Adrian, a portrait of anxiety, paced outside the delivery room, his face etched with worry. He occasionally glanced at the closed door, his heart beating in rhythm with the muffled screams emanating from within. The atmosphere hung thick with uncertainty, a stark contrast to the opulence surrounding them. Inside the delivery room, Eleanor clutched the bedsheets, her knuckles turning white. Each scream seemed to tear through the fabric of the tranquil night. The medical team moved with practiced urgency, their faces revealing both the strain of the moment and a determination to bring life into the world. "I can't do this!" Eleanor's voice, laced with desperation, cut through the air, reaching Adrian like a dagger to the heart. Adrian rushed to her side, his hands reaching out to grasp hers.
"Eleanor, look at me. You're doing amazing. Just a little more, and we'll have our son in our arms."
Tears welled in Eleanor's eyes as she met Adrian's gaze, a mixture of pain and love reflected in her eyes. "Promise me you'll take care of him no matter what," she whispered, the vulnerability in her voice echoing the depth of her emotion.
"I promise,"
Adrian choked out, his voice a raw admission of the uncertainties that lay ahead. As the hours passed, the room became a battleground of emotions. Eleanor's cries of pain intertwined with Adrian's whispered words of encouragement. The medical team worked in a seamless dance, their shared objective clear, to bring life into the world. Then, as if the universe paused to witness the moment, a newborn cry pierced through the tension. Oliver was cradled in the arms of a nurse, his cries a symphony of both arrival and departure. Amid the joy, a heaviness settled over the room. Eleanor, drained and weakened, summoned the strength for a final message. "Take care of him, Adrian. Love him always." Adrian nodded, his eyes brimming with unshed tears.
"I will, Eleanor. I promise."
Her breathing slowed and Eleanor closed her eyes, leaving behind a silence that echoed with both the beauty and fragility of life. Adrian, holding Oliver close, felt a mixture of elation and grief, the paradox of beginnings and endings hanging heavy in the air. The family, once a chorus of anticipation, now stood united in solemn reflection. The Corvallis estate, witness to the duality of joy and sorrow, bore witness to a legacy shaped by the profound sacrifice and love of a woman whose memory would forever be etched in the hearts of those she left behind. Adrian Corvallis stood alone in the dimly lit nursery, surrounded by the soft glow of a nightlight casting a tender light on the room. The weight of grief hung heavy in the air as he gazed at the crib that held his newborn son, Oliver. Tears welled in his eyes, aching for the presence of Eleanor, the woman who had filled the room with warmth and laughter just days before. In the hushed silence, Oliver stirred, a small cry escaping his lips. Adrian's heart clenched, torn between the immense joy of fatherhood and the profound loss of a beloved wife. As he lifted Oliver into his arms, the tiny, fragile form seemed to encapsulate both the beauty and fragility of life.
"It's just you and me now, buddy,"
Adrian whispered in his voice, a mixture of tenderness and sorrow. Oliver, seemingly understanding, nestled against his father's chest, finding solace in the heartbeat that echoed a promise of love and protection. Days turned into nights, and Adrian found himself immersed in the world of diapers, baby formula, and the gentle lullabies that had once been Eleanor's nightly ritual. The Corvallis estate, once bustling with the rhythm of a thriving family, now echoed with the softer, more intimate symphony of fatherhood. Amid sleepless nights and early morning feedings, Adrian's younger brother, Benjamin, became a steady presence. Understanding the gravity of the situation, Benjamin shouldered the responsibilities of the family business with a maturity that belied his youth. Together, the brothers navigated the delicate balance of nurturing a new life and sustaining the legacy their father had built. One evening, Adrian sat on the porch with Oliver cradled in his arms. The air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers, a stark contrast to the sombre mood that lingered within the household.
You know, your mum would have loved this garden,
Adrian mused, his voice tinged with both sadness and fondness. Oliver gurgled in response, blissfully unaware of the complex emotions that surrounded his existence. As the weeks passed, the estate became a canvas for the evolving relationship between father and son. Adrian, driven by a determination to honour Eleanor's memory, embraced every facet of parenthood. From sleepless nights to the first tentative steps, he navigated the challenges with a love that transcended the pain of loss. One night, as Oliver's cries pierced the stillness, Adrian rushed to the nursery. His tired eyes met Oliver's wide, tearful gaze. At that moment, the father within him emerged, a soothing voice and gentle touch coaxing the baby back into the comfort of sleep.
"You're stronger than you know, Oliver,"
Adrian whispered, his voice a lullaby that cradled both father and son in the cocoon of shared vulnerability. Meanwhile, Benjamin, ever observant and understanding, seamlessly integrated himself into the daily routine of the estate. His assistance in the family business allowed Adrian the freedom to savour the precious moments of fatherhood. Theirs was a silent understanding, a bond forged through the crucible of adversity. One day, as Adrian immersed himself in the financial reports of the Corvallis Corporation, Benjamin entered the room, a thoughtful expression on his face.
"Adrian, why don't you take a break? I've got this covered,"
Benjamin suggested, his eyes reflecting an empathy that transcended mere words. Adrian looked up, gratitude flickering in his weary eyes.
"Oh, thanks, Ben. I think I'll take Oliver to the park. It's been a while."
The park, once a family gathering place, now witnessed the rekindling of joy amid the shadow of loss. Adrian pushed Oliver on the swings, the child's laughter mingling with the rustling leaves and distant chatter of other families. As they sat on a bench, watching the sunset, Adrian spoke to Oliver as if sharing secrets with a confidant.
"Your mum loved sunsets, you know. She used to say they were a reminder that even in endings there's a beauty that lingers."
In the evening, Benjamin often found Adrian on the porch, a contemplative expression on his face as he stared into the horizon. Their conversations, though unspoken, resonated with the unspoken understanding of brothers bound by a shared history and a collective responsibility.
"You're doing a great job, Adrian,"
Benjamin remarked one evening, his gaze filled with admiration. Adrian's eyes, shining and sparkling with unshed tears, met Benjamin's. In that moment, the weight of grief and the resilience of love forged a connection that transcended familial ties. The Corvallis brothers, united by a shared purpose, became the architects of a new narrative for the family. As the years unfolded, Oliver grew into a lively, spirited child, a testament to the love and devotion bestowed upon him by a father who had weathered their storm of loss. The Corvallis estate, once a backdrop of both joy and sorrow, bore witness to the indomitable spirit of a family that had endured, evolved, and thrived. One day, as Benjamin and Adrian stood side by side in the garden, watching Oliver chase butterflies, a sense of accomplishment washed over them. The legacy of Eleanor Corvallis lived on not only in the towering buildings that bore the family name, but also in the laughter of a child and the unspoken bond between brothers. Adrian looked at Benjamin, a smile playing on his lips.
"We did it, Ben. We did it for her."
Benjamin nodded, his eyes reflecting the shared triumph of a family that had transformed grief into a legacy of love and resilience. The echoes of Eleanor's laughter, though distant, lingered in the air, a testament to the enduring power of familial bonds and the unwavering strength of the Corvallis family. Adrian and Benjamin Corvallis, the elder and younger brothers, stood side by side on the porch, sipping coffee and watching as Oliver, now a vibrant 3-year-old, chased butterflies in the garden. Adrian couldn't help but smile as Oliver's laughter filled the air.
"Oh, he's growing up so fast, Ben. It feels like just yesterday he was a tiny bundle in my arms."
Benjamin nodded, a reflective expression on his face.
"He's a resilient little guy, just like his dad. I can't believe how much joy he brings to this place."
As they shared a moment of quiet camaraderie, Benjamin turned to Adrian with a contemplative look.
"Adrian, have you ever thought about coming back to the office? We've managed well with you working from home, but I can see the toll it's taking on you. The business needs you, and so do the shareholders. Besides, Oliver is getting older now, and I've got this."
Adrian furrowed his brow, torn between the demands of the family business and his desire to be present for Oliver's formative years.
"But what about Oliver? I've been working from home to be here for him."
Benjamin grinned, a mischievous twinkle in his eyes.
"Don't worry about Oliver. He's a big boy now, and besides, I've become quite the expert at handling his antics. I'll be his partner in crime while you handle the business. Plus, he's turning 3. It's time for him to experience the joys of school."
The prospect of returning to the office, while daunting, appealed to Adrian's sense of responsibility. However, the thought of leaving Oliver behind stirred a pang of anxiety in his chest. He glanced over at Oliver, who was now playing with a small toy truck, blissfully unaware of the conversation unfolding. Benjamin placed a reassuring hand on Adrian's shoulder.
"Adrian, the business needs you. Oliver will be fine, and I promise to keep him out of too much trouble."
Later that day, as the three of them sat in the living room, Adrian broached the topic with Oliver.
"Hey, buddy, guess what? You're going to school soon, and Dad is thinking about going back to the office to work."
Oliver looked up, his eyes widening with curiosity.
"Dad, I'll have lots of friends, right?"
Adrian chuckled, tousling Oliver's hair.
"Yes, you'll have lots of friends, and you'll learn many exciting things. But, Oliver, if I go back to the office, will you be okay at home with Uncle Ben?"
Oliver nodded solemnly, a maturity beyond his years reflected in his gaze.
"Yes, Dad, I'll be fine. Uncle Ben is funny, and he said he'll play with me and help me with my toys. Plus, I can call him whenever I want, and he won't scold me."
Adrian and Benjamin exchanged surprised glances before bursting into laughter.
"How little Oliver has grown up,"
Benjamin remarked with a twinkle of pride in his eyes. Encouraged by Oliver's understanding, Adrian decided to return to the office. The next morning, as they prepared for the day ahead, Oliver wore his miniature backpack with pride, ready for his first day of school.
Dad, don't worry. I'll be a good student just like Mummy said I should be,
Oliver declared, his eyes shining with excitement. Adrian smiled, a mixture of pride and nostalgia filling his heart.
I'm sure you will, buddy. Now let's go to school together, and then I'll head to the office. Uncle Ben will take care of you after school, okay?
The first day of school marked a new chapter for Oliver, and as Adrian dropped him off, a swell of emotions gripped him. His little boy was growing up, and the echoes of Eleanor's guidance lingered in the air. At the office, Adrian faced a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. The familiar hum of business meetings, the clicking of keyboards, and the arranged chaos of a corporate setting surrounded him. The shareholders greeted him warmly, eager to have the patriarch back at the helm. As the days turned into weeks, Adrian and Benjamin fell into a rhythm. Adrian immersed himself in the intricacies of the business, fueled by a determination to not only sustain, but expand the Corvallis legacy. Meanwhile, Benjamin, true to his word, navigated the whims of a 3-year-old with the finesse of a seasoned parent. One evening, as Adrian returned home from the office, he found Oliver and Benjamin engrossed in a makeshift fort made of cushions and blankets. Laughter echoed through the halls, a testament to the newfound bond between uncle and nephew.
Uncle Ben is the best at building forts, Dad. And we had a tea party with Teddy and Mr. Bunny,
Oliver exclaimed, his eyes sparkling with joy. Adrian couldn't help but feel a surge of gratitude for the seamless way his family had adapted to the changes. Oliver's days were filled with a mix of school, playtime, and the gentle guidance of Benjamin, who had seamlessly become a second father to the young boy. As the months passed, Adrian's vision for the business took shape. The prospect of new subsidiaries and expanding the corporation loomed on the horizon. One evening, as he sat with Benjamin in the study, surrounded by blueprints and financial reports, Adrian broached the subject.
Ben, you've worked tirelessly to keep the ship steady. When we expand, I want you to be at the forefront, leading the charge. You've earned it.
Benjamin looked at Adrian, a mixture of surprise and gratitude in his eyes.
Bravo, I appreciate the offer, but I'm just doing my part. I never expected anything more.
Adrian smiled, his gaze filled with brotherly pride.
You've not just done your part, Ben. You've excelled. Take a break, rest for a month, and come back ready to lead. The future of the Corvallis Corporation is in your capable hands.
Benjamin, though initially hesitant, eventually agreed, acknowledging the importance of rejuvenation. Oliver, now a chatterbox with a penchant for storytelling, regaled his uncle with tales of school and playground adventures. One evening, Adrian and Benjamin found themselves on the porch, watching as Oliver played in the garden. The air was filled with a sense of accomplishment, a shared understanding that the Corvallis family had weathered storms and emerged stronger.
Ben, I can't thank you enough. You've not just been a brother, but a pillar of support for Oliver and me, and now with your leadership, the business is set for new heights,
Adrian remarked, a genuine appreciation in his voice. Benjamin nodded, a sense of fulfillment in his gaze.
We make a great team, brother.
The Corvallis estate felt like a haven of tranquility. Adrian and Benjamin Corvallis brothers, who had weathered storms together now, stood at the porch, their eyes reflecting the warmth of family. Oliver, their spirited 4-year-old, played in the garden, his laughter echoing through the air. Soon, years passed like sand running out of a hand. These years passed with changes in the Corvallis family. Their business grew and expanded more in different sectors. Increase in profits and being in trend for having great profits was a daily thing for them. Adrian and Benjamin also worked hard to grow their business. During this process, Oliver, who was a short pant guy, grew up to a full pant guy as a 12-year-old teen. His years from kid to teen went like working hard in class, making friends, getting hurt in the playground like a warrior. But now Oliver, who was 12 years old, had blossomed into an interesting and well-liked young boy, displaying a blend of curiosity and kindness. One day, as the sun dipped, Adrian and Benjamin found themselves leaving their respective offices. In a car adorned with the essence of accomplishment and familiar warmth, they made their way home. Oliver's school bag slung over his shoulders, he waited eagerly for his father and uncle. Adrian's car pulled up by the school gates, and Oliver bounded towards it with youthful enthusiasm. The door opened, revealing both brothers, Adrian and Benjamin, side by side. Oliver greeted them with a cheerful "Hello" as he hopped into the back seat.
"Dad, Uncle Ben, you won't believe what happened in school today," Oliver exclaimed, his eyes sparkling with excitement.
Adrian smiled, his voice a comforting melody.
"Tell us, Oliver. We're all ears." Oliver launched into a lively narrative of his day, sharing tales of classroom escapades, lessons learnt, and the upcoming celebration for his teacher's impending wedding. As he spoke, his youthful exuberance animated the car, weaving a tapestry of the day's events. Amidst the chatter, Oliver suddenly mentioned, "Oh, and by the way, Uncle Ben, Miss Thompson is getting married. All the teachers threw a party for her today." Benjamin nodded, a thoughtful expression on his face. "That's wonderful news. I wish her all the happiness in the world." Adrian, glancing at his younger brother, couldn't help but let a mischievous smile play on his lips. "Speaking of marriage, Ben, have you ever considered settling down? You're not getting any younger, you know." Benjamin chuckled, a twinkle in his eye. Well, I haven't given it much thought, Adrian. I'm content with how things are." Adrian persisted, a playful gleam in his eyes. "Come on, Ben, you're of age now. Any special someone in your life?" Oliver, catching on to the teasing atmosphere, chimed in, "Yeah, Uncle Ben, do you have a girlfriend?" Benjamin laughed, his gaze meeting Oliver's. "No one special, Oliver. I'm happy as I am." But Adrian, determined to play the role of the concerned elder brother, continued his prodding. "Are you sure, Ben? Maybe it's time we find someone who suits you. What do you think, Oliver? Should we play matchmaker for Uncle Ben?" Oliver's eyes widened with excitement.
"Uncle Ben, will you get married? That would be so cool."
Benjamin, caught off guard by the sudden turn of the conversation, simply smiled.
"Well, we'll see, Oliver. Let's not rush things."
The car continued its journey, the banter between the trio echoing the harmony of a family bound by love and shared joy. As they approached the familiar gates of the Corvallis estate, the atmosphere lightened. Oliver, always the first to jump out of the car, sprinted towards the front door. Home, now a haven of laughter and familial warmth, welcomed them. As Ben, Adrian, and Oliver walked home from the local park, the sun began its descent, casting a warm orange glow across the neighbourhood.
Adrian nudged him playfully. "Anything exciting happening? Like a marriage, perhaps?" Ben raised an eyebrow. "Marriage? Seriously, Adrian, I'm not even dating anyone."
"Oliver," Adrian's teenage son interjected.
"Uncle Ben, you should get married. It's fun."
Adrian laughed.
"Oh, Oliver, it's not that simple. You have to find the right person first."
Oliver looked at Ben with curiosity.
Uncle Ben, do you like anyone?
Ben scratched his head, contemplating the question.
Well, I haven't really thought about it. Why'd you ask?
Adrian joined in, grinning mischievously.
Oh, come on, Ben. You can't avoid the topic forever. Have you met someone special?
Ben hesitated, then smiled.
All right. Yeah, I do like someone.
Adrian exchanged a knowing look with Oliver.
Spill the beans, Ben. Who's the lucky gal?
Ben blushed slightly.
Her name's Rosie. We've been together since our graduation days.
Oliver's eyes widened.
Wow! Uncle Ben has a girlfriend!
Adrian laughed, clapping Ben on the back.
Congratulations, Ben. So, when are we meeting this Rosie?
Ben grinned.
Well, if you guys want to meet her, I can arrange something. She's Mr. Drew's daughter, by the way.
Adrian raised an eyebrow.
Mr. Drew, the guy from the real estate industry? That real estate tycoon?
Ben nodded.
Yep, that's the one. Rosie works there too.
As they approached the house, Adrian gave him a friendly shove.
All right, Ben, bring Rosie over sometime. We'd love to meet her.
Ben chuckled.
Sure thing, Adrian. I'll talk to Rosie about it.
As they entered the house, Adrian couldn't resist one final tease.
Oh, so Ben, when is the wedding?
Ben rolled his eyes, laughing.
Oh, you're getting ahead of yourself, Adrian. Let's start with a casual dinner first.
The three of them entered the house, the warmth of family and good-natured banter filling the air. Adrian couldn't help but smile, happy for his brother and excited to welcome Rosie into their lives. The next day, Ben headed to the office, ready to tackle another day of work. He logged in and immersed himself in his tasks, the hum of the office environment providing a steady background noise. As he delved into his work, his phone buzzed and he saw Rosie's name flashing on the screen. He picked up with a smile.
Hey, Rosie, what's up?
Rosie's cheerful voice echoed through the phone. Hey, Ben, I was wondering if we could meet during your lunch break. How about the cafe near your office?
Sure thing, Ben replied, already looking forward to a break from work. I'll meet you there.
During the lunch break, Ben made his way to the cafe, the tantalizing aroma of coffee and pastries greeting him as he entered. He spotted Rosie sitting at a table, and her face lit up as she saw him approaching. Hey! She exclaimed, waving.
Hey yourself, Ben replied, taking a seat across from her. What's going on?
Rosie took a deep breath before diving into the reason for the call. So, Ben, my friend Mary is getting married. She invited us to her wedding next Sunday.
That's great news. We should definitely go, Ben said, a smile playing on his lips.
Rosie nodded, but then a thoughtful expression crossed her face. There's something else, though. Mary wants us to meet her this Sunday for some pre-wedding stuff. It's important. Ben raised an eyebrow, intrigued.
Pre-wedding stuff? What does that entail?
Rosie chuckled. Well, it's mostly just catching up and spending time together before she ties the knot. But here's the catch. We need to meet your big brother.
Ben laughed. Oh, that's no problem at all. My big brother Adrian's a cool guy. It's just a casual get-together, no pressure.
Rosie looked a bit surprised. Your big brother knows about me?
Ben grinned. Yeah, I may have mentioned you when he was teasing me about marriage. He wanted to meet you after hearing about you, so what do you say? Willing to meet the family this Sunday?
Rosie grinned back. Sure, why not? I've heard good things about your big brother. It'll be fun. And so, amidst the aroma of coffee and the gentle hum of the cafe, Ben and Rosie enjoyed the rest of their lunch break, looking forward to the upcoming gatherings and celebrations with friends and family. As the evening approached, Ben found himself eager to share the news with his brother Adrian. Oliver, sensing something exciting, sat on the couch, glancing back and forth between his uncle and his dad.
"Hey, Adrian!"
Ben called out, entering the living room where Adrian was engrossed in reading the newspaper.
"I've got some news."
Adrian looked up, curiosity written all over his face.
"What's up, Ben?"
A grin spread across Ben's face.
"Rosie is coming over this Sunday to meet the family."
Oliver jumped up from the couch, a big smile on his face.
Really? That's awesome!
Adrian chuckled, folding the newspaper.
Well, Ben. Looks like things are getting serious, huh?
Ben shrugged playfully.
Just a friendly visit. No need to read too much into it.
Sunday morning arrived and Rosie found herself waiting near the park, the anticipation evident in her smile. Ben pulled up in his car and she hopped in, greeting him with a warm hello. As they arrived at Ben's home, the air was filled with a mix of excitement and nervousness. Adrian and Oliver welcomed them warmly, and Rosie reciprocated with genuine smiles and greetings. After settling in, they all gathered in the living room for a chat. Adrian, being the friendly and inquisitive host, initiated the conversation.
"So, Rosie, tell us a bit about yourself. How did you and Ben meet?"
Rosie, feeling at ease, began recounting the story of their serendipitous encounter. "Well, it all started back in our college days. We were both a part of a group project, and Ben and I happened to be paired up. At first we were just classmates, but as we spent more time together working on the project, we discovered shared interests and a similar sense of humour." Ben grinned, interjecting,
"Yeah, and Rosie was the only one who didn't mind my terrible puns."
Laughter filled the room, and Rosie continued, "Exactly. Anyway, as we got to know each other better, we realized there was something more between us. Our friendship naturally evolved into something deeper, and, well, here we are today." Oliver, the curious teenager, leaned forward, eager to hear more.
So, was it like love at first sight?"
Rosie chuckled. "Not exactly. It was more like a gradual realization that we enjoyed each other's company and wanted to be more than just friends. There were moments, though, when we shared a glance or a joke, and I think that's when we both knew there was something special." Adrian nodded approvingly.
"Sounds like a classic love story. And now, here you are, meeting the family. How does it feel?"
Rosie smiled. "Honestly, it feels wonderful. Ben has talked so much about his family, and it's great to finally put faces to the names." As the conversation unfolded, the living room became a space where stories were shared, connections deepened, and a sense of warmth enveloped them all. Adrian, with a twinkle in his eye, teased Ben about his early days of dating.
"So, Ben, how did you manage to win Rosie's heart? Any secret tips?" Ben chuckled. "Just being myself, Adrian, you know. The charm runs in the family."
Oliver, eager to be a part of the conversation, asked Rosie about her hobbies and interests.
"Do you like video games, Rosie? Uncle Ben is a gaming expert."
Rosie laughed. "Well, I'm not as skilled as Ben, but I can hold my own. We do have our friendly gaming competitions." Adrian, ever the father figure, turned to Rosie with a warm smile.
"So, Rosie, what do you do for a living? Any exciting hobbies or passions?"
Rosie shared her profession and talked about her love for painting. "I find peace in creating art. It's my way of expressing myself." As the conversation flowed, Oliver chimed in with tales of school and his latest adventures. Rosie listened attentively, sharing in the excitement of his stories. The chat was filled with laughter, anecdotes, and the occasional playful banter. The living room buzzed with a sense of connection and camaraderie, setting the stage for a delightful family lunch. As they moved to the dining table for lunch, The atmosphere remained light and convivial. Adrian, being the ever-curious father and brother, turned to Rosie with a grin.
So, Rosie, what is it that you like about Ben?
Rosie smiled, glancing at Ben before answering. His personality. He's kind, caring, and always knows how to make me laugh. I guess you could say he's the whole package. Adrian nodded approvingly.
Good answer. We like to keep things interesting around here, isn't that right, Oliver?
Oliver, with a mischievous grin, nodded vigorously.
Oh, definitely, Dad.
The lunch continued with laughter, stories, and shared moments, creating a comfortable bond between Rosie and Ben's family. As they enjoyed the meal, it became clear that the meeting was more than just an introduction. It was a chance for everyone to come together and celebrate the joy of new connections and relationships. After a hearty lunch and pleasant conversations, Rosie gently cleared her throat, catching everyone's attention. Thank you so much for the warm welcome and the delicious meal. I hate to cut this short, but I have some errands to run this afternoon and I should head out. Adrian nodded understandingly.
No worries, Rosie. Oh, it was great meeting you. You are welcome here any time.
Oliver, with a grin, added,
Yeah, come back soon, Rosie. We can play video games together.
Rosie chuckled. Absolutely, Oliver. I'll take you up on that offer. As Rosie stood up to leave, Ben walked her to the door.
I'll drop you off wherever you need to go, he offered.
Rosie smiled. That would be great, thanks. I need to stop by the store and pick up a few things. As they drove towards the store, Rosie couldn't help but express her gratitude. I had a really nice time, Ben. Your family is lovely and I appreciate them making me feel so welcome. Ben grinned.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Oh, they liked you too, you know. Oliver already wants you to come back for more gaming sessions.
Rosie laughed. I'd love that. Your family's easy to get along with. Pulling up to the store, Ben parked the car. Rosie turned to him. Thanks for bringing me here. I appreciate it.
Ben winked. Anytime. If you ever need a chauffeur, you know where to find me.
Rosie playfully nudged him. I'll keep that in mind. Oh, seriously though, thank you for today. It meant a lot to me. Ben smiled.
The pleasure was all mine, Rosie. I'm looking forward to more family get-togethers with you.
As Rosie stepped out of the car, she waved goodbye to Ben, feeling a warm sense of connection with him and his family. Ben watched her enter the store, grateful for the shared moments and looking forward to many more. After dropping Rosie off at the store, Ben returned home, parked the car and entered the living room. Adrian was seated on the couch, engrossed in a magazine. Ben sat down beside him, a smile playing on his lips. Adrian looked up and grinned.
So, how did it go, Ben? What do you think of Rosie?
Ben nodded.
It went well. Rosie enjoyed meeting you and Oliver. I think you guys hit it off.
Adrian chuckled.
She seems like a good girl. I'm glad you brought her over. Oliver really liked her too.
Oliver, who had been eavesdropping from the doorway, chimed in.
Yeah, Uncle Ben, when is she coming back? We have to finish our game.
Ben laughed, ruffling Oliver's hair.
Soon, Oliver, soon, I promise.
Adrian set the magazine aside and turned to Ben, a thoughtful expression on his face.
You know, Ben, it might be a good idea to have a family meeting, get to know Rosie better and vice versa. What do you think?
Ben considered it for a moment before responding.
Not now, big bro, but soon, I promise. We'll plan something where everyone can spend more time together.
Adrian nodded.
Sounds like a plan. Whenever you're ready, just let me know. I'd love to get to know her better.
Ben smiled, appreciating his brother's support.
Thanks, Adrian. I'll make sure it happens, but for now, let's just enjoy the fact that everyone got along today. Adrian agreed, absolutely. Family gatherings are always a good idea, though. It's a chance for everyone to bond.
As they sat there, the three of them, Ben, Adrian and Oliver, shared a moment of camaraderie, looking forward to the potential of more family moments and the growing connection with Rosie. In the midst of their blossoming relationship, Rosie and Ben found themselves creating cherished moments together. One day, they decided to take the next step and plan a family dinner at a hotel. They booked a venue, sent out invitations to their family members, and eagerly anticipated the special evening. As the clock struck 8 p.m., the family members arrived at the hotel, sharing warm greetings and excited smiles. Adrian meeting Rosie's father. Mr. Drew, for the first time, extended a friendly handshake.
"Nice to finally meet you, Mr. Drew. I've heard a lot about you,"
Mr. Drew reciprocated.
"Likewise, Adrian. I've heard wonderful things about your family."
As the adults engaged in conversation, Oliver, feeling a bit bored, busied himself with his phone, subtly expressing his teenage disinterest in the grown-up discussions. After a brief while, Rosie and Ben made their entrance, capturing the attention of everyone in the room. Rosie, with a beaming smile, addressed the gathering. "Thank you all for being here tonight. Ben and I have a special announcement to make." She looked at Ben, their eyes sparkling with shared excitement. Ben continued,
"We've decided to take the next step in our relationship. Rosie and I are planning to get engaged soon."
Applause and cheers erupted in the room, and even Oliver put down his phone, sensing something big was happening. The family members were genuinely thrilled by the couple's decision. To mark the occasion, a beautifully decorated engagement cake was brought out. Rosie and Ben cut the cake together, symbolizing the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. The evening continued with a delightful dinner filled with laughter, heartfelt conversations, and the warmth of shared joy. As the night came to a close, the family bid their farewells, heading home with the promise of exciting days ahead. The next day, the preparations for the engagement ceremony began in earnest. Friends and family came together to make the day special for Rosie and Ben. After a few days of anticipation, the engagement was held at Rosie's house, surrounded by the love and blessings of their closest ones. The joyous occasion marked the official start of a new journey for Rosie and Ben, bringing their families even closer together. The engagement day came, and the engagement announcement went through the halls, causing the very happy crowd to turn their attention to the stage. Benjamin, glowing in a sharp suit, took centre stage with Rosie by his side. The room was quiet in excitement as he raised his glass for a toast.
"Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends, thank you for gracing us with your presence tonight," Benjamin began, his gaze locked with Rosie's. "I am ecstatic to announce our engagement to this extraordinary woman, Rosie."
Applause and cheers filled the room as Rosie blushed, her hand entwined with Benjamin's. The room was filled with the flash of cameras, capturing the essence of this pivotal moment. As the evening progressed, guests were invited to indulge in a lavish dinner spread. Tables adorned with elegant centerpieces provided the perfect backdrop for intimate conversation and shared laughter. Oliver, the charismatic host, moved through the crowd, ensuring everyone was welcome.
"Have you tried the shrimp? It's divine!"
he exclaimed, his infectious energy adding to the celebratory atmosphere. The dance floor, now open, beckoned guests to revel in the joy of the celebration. Couples swayed to the music, creating an enchanting ambiance of love and happiness. As the night unfolded, the clock near midnight, and the Drew family stood at the entrance to bid farewell to the guests. Adrian shook hands with Mr. Drew once again, expressing gratitude for the warm hospitality.
"Mr. Drew, thank you for hosting such a magnificent celebration. We look forward to the union of our families,"
Adrian said, sincerity evident in his tone. Mr. Drew reciprocated the sentiment.
"Adrian, the pleasure is mine. This engagement marks the beginning of a beautiful journey for Rosie and Benjamin."
As the guests departed, Oliver handed out parting gifts, small tokens of appreciation to carry the spirit of the celebration within them.
Thank you for being part of this magical night. Take a piece of the celebration with you, he exclaimed, his eyes sparkling with genuine gratitude. The engagement party, a night filled with joy, laughter, and shared love, concluded. Rosie and Benjamin, surrounded by their families, stood on the Drew estate porch, taking in the serene night. "Tonight was everything I dreamed of," Rosie whispered, her eyes reflecting the warmth of the evening. Benjamin, squeezing her hand, replied, "And this is just the beginning. Our journey is going to be filled with moments like these." As the doors closed behind the last departing guest, the Drew estate settled into a restful night, echoing with the echoes of a celebration that marked the union of two hearts. The engagement party had not only celebrated love, but also forged the bonds that would carry Rosie and Benjamin into a future filled with promise and shared joy. As the party ended, the dimly lit study in Mr. Drew's big house showed an air of secrecy as Rosie entered, her rich and beautiful personality going against the clever mind within. The door creaked softly as it closed, surrounding them in a silky protective covering. Mr. Drew, a clever businessman, sat behind an impressive, inconvenient, dark brown desk, his steely look fixed on Rosie. Mr. Drew leaned back in his chair and said, "Well, Rosie, it's about time we had a chat about your future." Rosie noddingly said, "Yeah, Dad, I've been thinking about it too." Mr. Drew smirked and said, Good. You know, Ben's a fine young man. His family's got a lot going for them." Rosie curiously asked, "Oh, like what?" Mr. Drew, gesturing with his hands, said, "They're into construction, finance, logistics, you name it. And guess what? They're gearing up to dive into the heavy metal industry." Rosie, raising an eyebrow, added, "Heavy metal? Like rock music?" Mr. Drew, chuckling, denied. "Oh, no, sweetheart. I mean manufacturing and all that industrial stuff. It's big business." Rosie, leaning forward, asked, "Sounds interesting. What's so special about heavy metal?" Mr. Drew, smirking, replied, "Well, it's not about the music. It's about the strength and durability of the materials they work with. Buildings, infrastructures, you name it, they're a part of it." Rosie thoughtfully said, "So you're saying they're about to make it big in this heavy metal thing?" Mr. Drew noddingly responded, "That's the plan, and you know what that means for you, right?" Rosie, grinning, insisted, "Enlighten me, Dad." Mr. Drew, leaning forward, placing a hand on her shoulder, replied, "It means opportunities, Rosie. Opportunities for you to be a part of something substantial. Something that could secure your future." Rosie, smiling, "You think so?" Mr. Drew nodded and said, "I do. Just imagine being a part of a family that's making waves in the business world. It's a chance for you to build something lasting." Rosie reflected. "Yeah, I never really thought about it that way." Mr. Drew encouragingly advised, "Think about the connections, the experiences. It's not just about love, Rosie. It's about building a life together, a life with potential." Rosie, smirking, replied, "So heavy metal, huh? I could get used to that." Mr. Drew laughingly expressed, "That's my girl. Just remember, it's not about the industry itself, but the opportunities it brings. Make the most of it." As Rosie and her father continued their conversation late into the night, the dimly lit study room became a space where dreams, ambitions, and the promise of a bright future unfolded. Little did Rosie know that this discussion about heavy metal would lead her down a path of unexpected opportunities and a life filled with both love and success. As Rosie retreated to her room, after the heartfelt conversation with her father, she found herself seated on the edge of her bed, gazing contemplatively at the blank wall before her. Her mind buzzed with thoughts, trying to dissect the potential profits and advantages that could come from being intertwined with Ben's family and their ventures. Rosie whispered to herself, "Heavy metal, huh?
That's right. It's not just about the industry. It's about the opportunities. She began to mentally sketch out the potential gains, her thoughts forming a mosaic of possibilities. Rosie, smirking, thought, construction, well, that's obvious. With Ben's family entrenched in the building business, I could tap into a gold mine of contracts and projects. Maybe start my own business someday. Her mind then shifted to the financial sector, a sector filled with promise and growth. Rosie, contemplating, thought, finance? Now that's intriguing. With their fingers in that pie, there could be financial stability like I've never imagined. Investments, portfolios, maybe even dabbling in stocks. The possibilities are endless. The logistics sector didn't escape her considerations either. Rosie nodded to herself. Logistics. That means connections, shipping, transportation, why not? A network that could be advantageous in so many ways. Opportunities for collaboration and expansion. Then came the thought of the heavy metal industry itself, the very core of Ben's family's new venture. Rosie grinningly thought, heavy metal, manufacturing and industry, imagining the potential for innovation, growth and profits. If they're entering this sector, it's because there's serious money to be made. Her eyes narrowed as she envisioned the future, not just as Ben's fiancée, but as a savvy businesswoman. Rosie determinedly said, this is my chance. It's not just about love. It's about building a life of prosperity. If I play my cards right, we could create a legacy, something that goes beyond the ordinary. As Rosie continued to ponder the possibilities, the blank wall before her transformed into a canvas of dreams and ambitions. She realized that her role in this union wasn't merely passive, but an active pursuit of success. With each passing moment, she felt a growing excitement, a determination to make the most of the opportunities that lay ahead, ensuring that the engagement she was contemplating wasn't just a union of hearts, but a partnership of prosperity. In her contemplations, Rosie's thoughts took a practical turn, envisioning the dynamics of Ben's family and the potential advantages they could bring. Rosie smirkingly said, if they're diving into heavy metal, there's probably a piece of the pie they're handing to Ben. I mean, they wouldn't just let him stand on the sidelines. Her imagination painted a picture of Ben being entrusted with a significant chunk of the family business. Rosie nodded, admitted one industry and handed it over to Ben. That could be a game changer. He'd have something of his own, and we could build on that together. The idea of a designated sector for Ben fueled her optimism. Rosie, grinning, boasted, it's not just about riding on the family name. If they give him something substantial, it means they trust him, and that could open doors for both of us. She pictured them working side by side, navigating the challenges of the industry together. Rosie thought, with Ben focused on a specific part of the business, we could turn it into something really good. Maybe even expand further. It's like having our little empire within the family empire. The prospect of them having their domain within the vast landscape of Ben's family business brought a spark of excitement. Rosie whispered to herself, a designated industry, our industry. It's not just about benefiting from the family's success, but about creating our path within it. As Rosie's thoughts continued to unfold, she became increasingly determined to seize the opportunities that lay ahead. Not just as Ben's partner, but as someone who could contribute, shape and thrive in their shared venture. The notion of a specific industry handed over to Ben became a beacon of potential, a cornerstone for the life they could build together. After the joyous celebration of her engagement day, Rosie settled into her life as a member of the Corvallis family for a few days. The days in their house unfolded happily, filled with warmth, laughter, and a sense of belonging. Rosie found joy in the little things, shared meals, family gatherings, and the daily routines that now included her. One day, as Rosie passed by Adrian's room, she overheard a conversation between Adrian and Mr. Joe from the board of director of the company. They were discussing Ben and the family business. Intrigued, Rosie lingered outside the door, listening to their exchange. Mr. Joe wore a thoughtful expression as he spoke.
Adrian, I've been thinking, maybe it's time to let Ben take on more responsibility in the business. He's capable, and it's about time he proves it.
Adrian shook his head, a contemplative frown on his face.
Not yet, Mr. Joe. And not this one. I have a plan in mind, trust me on this.
Rosie felt a surge of anger. The idea that they were holding back opportunities from Ben did not sit well with her. She quietly left her mind racing with thoughts. In her room, Rosie simmered with frustration. She couldn't accept the notion of Ben being denied a chance to prove himself in the family business. Determination fueled her anger, and she hatched a plan to ensure Ben got the opportunities he deserved. Whispering to herself, she vowed, "If they won't give him a business, I'll make sure he gets one. I'll create a rift in this family, make Ben trust only me." The next day saw Rosie subtly working behind the scenes, planting seeds of doubt and discontent. She became the bridge between Ben and the rest of the family, gradually eroding their trust in each other. Casually mentioning to Ben, she said, "You know, I overheard something. They might not trust you with the business as much as you think." Concern etched across his face. Ben questioned,
Why? Why wouldn't they?
With a nonchalant shrug, Rosie responded, "I don't know. But you should prove them wrong. Show them what you're capable of." As tensions mounted within the family, Rosie positioned herself as Ben's confidant and advocate. She subtly steered him away from Adrian's influence, emphasizing that his success lay in breaking free from the family constraints. Encouragingly, she told Ben, "You need to stand on your own. If they won't give you business, we'll make our way." Her plan was unfolding, and Rosie was ready to do whatever it took to secure a business opportunity for her husband. Little did she know that her actions would set off a chain of events that would test the bonds of the Corvallis family and reshape the dynamics within their household. Fueled by her determination to secure a business opportunity for Ben, Rosie embarked on a subtle campaign to turn him against his family. She began planting seeds of doubt, subtly portraying herself as a victim and painting the Corvallis family as the accusers. One evening, as they sat in the dimly lit living room, Rosie carefully chose her words. Rosie let out a heavy sigh, glancing away as she spoke. Ben, I overheard Mr. Joe and Adrian talking again. They were discussing your role in the family business. It didn't sound promising." Concern etched across his face. Ben asked,
What were they saying?
Rosie looked away again, emphasizing the gravity of her revelation. "Well, it sounded like they don't trust you as much as they should. I mean, after everything you've done for them." Ben furrowed his brows, visibly disrupted by Rosie's revelation. Unknown to him, Rosie had strategically omitted any positive remarks made by his family, focusing only on the perceived negatives. In the days that followed, Rosie masterfully orchestrated incidents that portrayed her as a victim. A misplaced comment from Adrian was exaggerated into an alleged insult, and an innocent family gathering became a supposed exclusionary event. Rosie would then confide in Ben, highlighting how isolated and mistreated she felt. As Rosie continued her campaign to create discord within the Corvallis family, she meticulously devised a series of plots aimed at casting suspicion on Oliver and Adrian. Her ultimate goal was to isolate Ben and solidify her influence over him. Rosie strategically planted a confidential document related to the family business in Oliver's study. The document contained information that could be misconstrued as a plan to sideline Ben from crucial decisions. Knowing Oliver's meticulous nature, she counted on him discovering the document. Oliver, unsuspecting of the trap, found the document and, alarmed, confronted Adrian about its contents. Rosie feigned innocence, expressed shock and concern over the apparent betrayal within the family. Rosie crafted an anonymous tip alleging financial mismanagement within the family business and sent it to Adrian's office. The tip hinted at a scheme to undermine Ben's potential success. Rosie strategically leaked similar concerns in casual conversations with Adrian, further adding fuel to the fire. As Adrian scrambled to address the allegations, Rosie played the concerned fiancé, subtly pushing Ben to question the family's integrity. Rosie arranged a meeting between Adrian and Mr. Joe, planting the seed of a clandestine discussion about family matters. She strategically made it seem like they were excluding Ben from crucial decisions. Rosie then overheard snippets of their conversation and, with calculated timing, shared her supposed findings with Ben. Rosie, with a raised eyebrow, "Ben, I accidentally overheard them talking. They seemed to be discussing something important, but they didn't want you to know." Rosie orchestrated the disappearance of a valuable family heirloom, making it appear as though Oliver was responsible for its theft. The missing item held sentimental value, ensuring an emotional response from the family. Rosie subtly accused Oliver, sowing further distrust within the family. Ben, distressed by the perceived betrayal, questioned Oliver about the stolen heirloom. Rosie, maintaining her facade, stood by Ben, offering support in this difficult time. As Rosie continued to weave her web of deception, the Corvallis family found themselves entangled in a complex web of mistrust and suspicion. Little did they know that Rosie was the puppet master, orchestrating their every move, all in the pursuit of her agenda. The once unbreakable bonds within the family now stood on shaky ground, and Rosie's influence over Ben reached new heights. With teary eyes, Rosie shared her feelings, saying, "Ben, I thought they were my family now, but it feels like they want me out. Maybe they won't accept me." Ben, increasingly influenced by Rosie's narrative, became defensive on her behalf. As Rosie continued to highlight instances of supposed mistreatment, she subtly fueled his resentment toward the family. One day, Rosie took a more direct approach, sowing seeds of suspicion about Adrian's intentions. Whispering to Ben, she said, "Ben, I think Adrian is holding you back. He has his agenda and it's not in your favour." Ben, now convinced of his family's supposed betrayal, confronted Adrian about his plans for the business. Unbeknownst to him, Rosie had skillfully manipulated the situation, presenting herself as the concerned fiancé caught in the middle of family politics. As tensions escalated within the Corvallis family, Rosie's influence over Ben grows stronger. She had successfully portrayed herself as the victim and the family as the antagonists. Little did Ben know that the web of deceit spun by Rosie would strain the bonds of trust within the family and set the stage for further turmoil. As Rosie's campaign for subtle manipulation continued, she skillfully escalated the tension within the Corvallis family. Seizing every opportunity, she crafted scenarios that fueled Ben's growing resentment toward his kin. During a family dinner, Rosie strategically brought up the supposed exclusionary event. Casually she mentioned, "You know, Ben, I felt strange at the last family gathering. I overheard them talking about some event and I wasn't invited." Ben's protective instincts flared and he demanded an explanation from Adrian. Rosie continued to play the victim, enhancing her narrative with carefully chosen words. Appearing hurt, she said, "I thought family meant inclusivity. Maybe they see me differently." Ben, now emotionally charged, confronted Oliver and Adrian about the exclusionary event. Unbeknownst to him, Rosie had manipulated the situation to deepen the divide. As the rift widened, Rosie began subtly steering Ben away from family discussions, reinforcing the idea that he needed to focus on his path. Supportively, she advised, "Ben, you're talented and capable. Maybe it's time to explore opportunities beyond what they think you can handle." Ben, fueled by a sense of injustice, started withdrawing from family meetings and discussions. Rosie, always by his side, became the sole confidant and advisor he trusted. In a carefully orchestrated moment, Rosie stumbled upon a confidential document related to the family business. She shared her discovery of Ben, claiming it was proof that Adrian was intentionally holding him back. Feigning surprise, she remarked,
"Look at this, Ben! I found it in the study! It seems like they're deliberately keeping you in the dark about certain decisions."
Ben, his trust further eroded, confronted Adrian with the document. The family was now on the brink of chaos, and Rosie's influence over Ben reached its peak. One evening, as tensions simmered in the Corvallis household, Rosie confronted Ben, whispering, she said,
"You deserve better, Ben. If they won't recognize your potential, we'll make our way. You don't need them."
With a growing sense of isolation and betrayal, Ben made the difficult decision to distance himself from his family, inadvertently playing into Rosie's carefully constructed plan. Little did he know that the consequences of Rosie's manipulations would extend far beyond his relationships with the Corvallis family, setting the stage for unforeseen challenges and a future that would be marked by mistrust and division. Amidst the turmoil within the Corvallis family, Adrian had to travel to the UK for a crucial business trip. The trip was intended to solidify partnerships and explore new opportunities for the family business. The weight of responsibilities rested on Adrian's shoulders as he navigated through meetings and negotiations. After completing his business trip, Adrian began his journey back to Australia. While Adrian was driving towards the airport in expectation to see his son again, he wasn't aware that a brake fell off a trolley and was moving towards him. After passing the signal as he was crossing the road, the trolley rushed over him and Adrian got into a serious accident. The impact left him seriously injured. Soon an ambulance was called and he was taken to the hospital, but at the hospital, despite the doctor's efforts, they eventually declared him dead. The news of Adrian's tragic accident sent shockwaves through the Corvallis family. While the others were in deep grief, Rosie saw an opportunity. In the sombre atmosphere, she approached Ben. Rosie calmly stated,
"Ben, this is a golden opportunity for you. With Adrian gone, you can join the company and get back everything we wanted."
Ben, already disturbed by his brother's death, couldn't believe Rosie's insensitivity. Ben angrily responded,
"How selfish can you be? My brother just passed away and you're talking about property?"
She defended herself, insisting that she wasn't disrespecting Adrian's death, but rather aiming for a better life for her husband. So Rosie defensively replied,
"No, Ben, I just want you to have a better life. This is a chance for us."
Angry and hurt, Ben stormed out of the room and into the hall where Oliver was sitting. Oliver, grief-stricken and crying, found solace in his brother's presence. Ben ran towards him and they hugged each other, finding comfort in shared sorrow. From behind, Rosie couldn't resist taking a dig at their moment of solace. Rosie sarcastically remarked,
"So you still want to go back to that family who abandoned you? Either choose me or that filthy kid."
Ben, angered by Rosie's remarks, turned towards her and demanded her to go back to the room. Expressing that he wasn't in the mood to fight with her, he cryptically added that all her questions would be answered tomorrow. The tension within the family escalated further as grief and personal ambitions clashed, leaving them on the precipice of even greater turmoil. Amid the tense atmosphere, the conversation continued, each member of the family expressing their emotions and grappling with the aftermath of Adrian's tragic death. Everyone was feeling the weight of it, dealing with their own feelings. Oliver shot Ben a look like he was pleading, "We know you are hurting, but don't let it mess you up. We need to stick together." Ben got defensive, but he was also vulnerable, saying, "I'm grieving my own way. Don't tell me how to mourn my brother." Oliver got worked up, saying, "I'm not saying don't grieve, just don't let our family fall apart." He kept pushing, Dad was always there for us. Can't you see we need to support each other? Ben started to calm down, admitting,
I hear you, but Rosie's important to me. I can't just leave her.
And Oliver said, I'm not saying leave her, Uncle Ben. Remember who we are. The Corvallises. Dad wouldn't want us fighting like this. He was almost pleading. We're not just losing my father and your brother. We're losing our family bond. Think about what's best for all of us. The room fell into a heavy silence, the air thick with unresolved emotions. In grief, they faced a crucial crossroads, whether to come together as a united front or succumb to the divisive forces that threatened to tear them apart. The echoes of their conversation lingered, leaving the family standing on the brink of a pivotal decision that would shape their future. The next morning, as the sun timidly rose, Ben, with a heavy heart, decided it was time to address the rift that had been tearing apart the Corvallis family. He took a deep breath and dialed Rosie's father's number. On the other end of the line, Rosie's father answered.
Hello? Mr. Drew, it's Ben. We need to talk about Rosie,
Ben said with a hint of hesitation. Rosie's father, sensing the urgency in Ben's voice, replied,
Well, what's going on, Ben?
Ben, trying to choose his words carefully, explained the recent events, revealing the extent of Rosie's involvement in creating discord within the family. Ben said,
I think it's best if Rosie goes home with you for a while. We need some time to sort things out here.
Rosie's father, understanding the gravity of the situation, sighed.
I see. I'll come over.
Shortly after, Rosie's father arrived at the Corvallis household. Ben, with a stern expression, called Rosie down.
Rosie, your father is here. Pack your bags. You're leaving with him.
Rosie, shocked and tearful, pleaded, Ben, please, don't do this. I can explain everything. Don't send me away. Ben, resolute, responded,
Rosie, we need some time to heal as a family. It's the best thing for everyone.
As Rosie packed her bags, her desperation escalated into a heartbreaking plea. With tears rolling down her cheeks, she said, Ben, please. I love you. Don't make me leave. I'll do anything to fix this. Ben, unmoved by her pleas, calmly stated,
This is for the best, Rosie. Maybe some time apart will help us all.
In a last-ditch effort, Rosie fell to her knees, her eyes red and swollen. Please, Ben, I'm begging you. Don't let our relationship fall apart like this. Despite her cries, Ben stood firm. He gently helped her to her feet, kissed her forehead, and led her towards the door.
I hope we can find a way back to each other. Take care, Rosie.
As Rosie left the house with her father, the weight of their broken relationship hung in the air. They were left to confront the aftermath of the decisions made that morning, with uncertainty about whether time apart would bring healing or mark the end of a once unbreakable bond. In the days that followed Rosie's departure, the house was engulfed in an uneasy silence. The absence of Rosie's presence, once an integral part of the household, left a palpable void. Yet amidst the grief and tension, life continued to unfold, and Ben and Oliver found themselves grappling with the aftermath of Adrian's tragic death. One morning at the Corvallis mansion, Ben received a call that would once again stir the emotions that had barely begun to settle. The police, with a solemn tone, informed him that Adrian's body had been transported to the police station, awaiting pickup. It was a stark reminder of the harsh reality they were trying to come to terms with. Dread settled in Ben's stomach as he made his way to the police station. The drive, usually familiar, felt like an arduous journey into the depths of his grief. Arriving at the station, he was met with a cold, sterile environment that seemed incongruent with the emotions that swelled within him. Approaching the reception desk, Ben inquired about Adrian's body. The officer directed him to a room where, behind a thick door, lay the lifeless form of his brother. The sight was jarring, and Ben couldn't help but feel a surge of guilt for the unresolved conflicts that had strained their relationship. "Adrian," he murmured, reaching out as if expecting a response that would never come. The silence in the room was deafening, echoing the weight of the unsaid apologies and unspoken regrets. With a heavy heart, Ben arranged for Adrian's body to be transported home. The journey back was one filled with solitude and contemplation. He navigated the empty streets, his mind overflowing with memories, regrets, and the ever-present ache of loss. Upon reaching home, they were faced with the daunting task of preparing for the funeral service. Ben, despite his grief, assumed the role of a pillar of strength, guiding through the necessary arrangements. As they gathered in the living room, the air was thick with sorrow and unspoken words. Oliver, who had been grappling with the sudden absence of his father, looked to Ben with eyes filled with questions. "Is father gone forever, Uncle Ben?" he asked, his voice a fragile whisper in the solemn atmosphere. Ben, fighting back tears, nodded and pulled Oliver into a tight embrace. "I know, buddy. It's hard for all of us." The funeral service was a poignant affair, attended by family, friends, and acquaintances. The somber tones of the memorial filled the air as the eulogies painted a picture of Adrian, a brother, a friend, a confidant. Ben, with strength that belied his grief, spoke of the memories they shared, and Oliver, in a brave attempt, expressed his admiration for his departed father. Rosie and her father, respecting the family's sorrow, quietly paid their respects before slipping away without disrupting the solemn proceedings. Ben, in his turmoil, caught a glimpse of Rosie's retreating figure, but chose not to pursue her at that moment. As the ceremony concluded, they gathered outside, facing the arduous task of saying their final goodbyes at the cemetery. Ben, bearing the weight of his brother's casket alongside Oliver, felt a surge of responsibility for his father, who left them in mid. The burial site, a serene plot overlooking a peaceful landscape, became the final resting place for Adrian. The relatives and friends, in a hushed congregation, took turns saying their last words. Ben, with tear-streaked cheeks, expressed his love and gratitude for the time they shared. Oliver, unable to hold back his grief, whispered promises to be the best person he could be in honour of his father. As Ben stood by the graveside, a myriad of emotions overwhelmed him. Guilt, grief, and a profound sense of loss converged into a silent plea for forgiveness that he dared not articulate. With a heavy heart he uttered his farewell, promising to carry on Adrian's legacy in his way. The Corvallises, united in their sorrow, left the cemetery with a shared burden that transcended the divisions of the past. The journey back home was marked by a solemn silence, each member lost in their reflections on the fragility of life and the ties that bind a family together. In the days that followed, the Corvallis mansion echoed with the faint echoes of grief. Ben, taking charge of the household, ensured that routines were maintained, providing a semblance of stability amid the chaos of emotions. Oliver, returning to school, sought solace in the routine of academic pursuits. Ben, burdened with the responsibility of steering the family through this difficult period, found himself drawn to the family business and household. The demands of the company, once a source of tension, now became a therapeutic distraction. He immersed himself in the intricate details of the business, seeking refuge in the familiar terrain that Adrian had navigated with such finesse. Amidst the routines, there were moments of shared grief and tentative attempts at rebuilding. Oliver, noticing the toll on Ben, gently broached the subject of Rosie's return.
Maybe it's time to bring Aunt Rosie back, Uncle Ben. She's still your fiancée,
he suggested one evening, his eyes reflecting concern. Ben, staring into the distance, replied,
I know, Oliver, but let's give it a little more time. I want things to settle down before we bring her back into the fold. She also has to learn from her mistakes.
Oliver, nodding in understanding, recognized the delicate nature of the situation. The wounds inflicted by recent events needed time to heal, and rushing the process could jeopardize the fragile stability they were beginning to regain. As the days turned into weeks, they found solace in the routines they had once taken for granted. Small smiles, shared glances, and unspoken acknowledgements became the currency of their healing. Oliver and Ben, bound by blood and shared history, learnt to navigate the complexities of their relationships with newfound resilience. 1 month had passed since the funeral of Adrian, and Ben and Oliver, though scarred by grief, had found the semblance of stability. It was during this time that Ben, feeling a tentative sense of calm settle over the household, made a call that would potentially pave the way for healing. Later that afternoon, Rosie's father received a call from Ben. The familiar tone of Ben's voice carried a weight that resonated through the phone.
Mr. Drew, it's Ben. We've been through a lot, but I think it's time for Rosie to come back. Things are more stable now.
A sigh of relief escaped Mr. Drew as he responded,
I appreciate your understanding, Ben. I'll bring Rosie back soon.
True to his word, Mr. Drew arrived at the Corvallis mansion with Rosie in tow. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation and a shared hope for reconciliation. As Rosie stepped into the familiar surroundings, she felt a mix of emotions: nostalgia, remorse, and a fervent desire for forgiveness. The family gathered in the living room and greeted her with a cautious yet open warmth. Ben, maintaining a composed demeanour, spoke first.
Rosie, we've been through a lot. I believe in second chances. Are you ready to make things right?
Rosie, her eyes reflecting sincerity, nodded.
Ben, I'm so sorry for everything. I never meant to hurt any of you. Can you find it in your heart to forgive me?
Ben, his gaze softened, replied,
It won't happen overnight, but we can try to rebuild.
Turning to Oliver, Rosie continued her plea for forgiveness.
Oliver, I know I've caused a lot of pain. Can you forgive me too?
Oliver, his stern expression softening, responded,
We're a family, Aunt Rosie. Families forgive.
He also added,
My father wouldn't want us to be torn apart. Let's try to be a family again.
The room was filled with a palpable sense of forgiveness, a collective decision to embrace the possibility of a renewed family bond. As they shared a tentative family hug, a weight seemed to lift, making room for healing and rebuilding. In the following days, the Corvallis family embarked on the journey of rediscovering joy amid the remnants of sorrow. Rosie, with humility and sincerity, endeavoured to make amends for the past. She contributed to the daily rhythms of the household, seeking to rebuild trust through actions rather than mere words. Family dinners, once tainted by tension, became moments of laughter and shared warmth. The Corvallis mansion echoed with the sounds of healing, a testament to the resilience of familial bonds. One evening, as the sun set in hues of warmth and promise, the family gathered in the living room. Ben, Rosie and Oliver sat together, their shared experiences weaving a tapestry of newfound strength. Ben, breaking the comfortable silence, spoke with a genuine smile.
We've been through a lot, but we're still here. That counts for something. And now I think everything is settled. Me and Rosie should get married.
Rosie heard it and smiled. After weathering a series of challenges, the Corvallis family finally found themselves on the cusp of a joyous occasion, the wedding of Ben and Rosie. The road to this moment had been fraught with hardships, testing the bonds that held them together. Ben and Rosie, undeterred by life's twists and turns, decided to embrace simplicity for their wedding. The couple opted for a small, intimate ceremony that reflected the resilience they had built together. The Corvallis family, having weathered storms and celebrated triumphs, rallied behind the couple to make the day special. The wedding day unfolded with a sense of quiet jubilation. Simple decorations adorned the venue, and the atmosphere buzzed with heartfelt conversations and shared laughter. Close family and friends gathered to witness the union, a testament to the support system that had sustained Ben and Rosie through thick and thin. As the ceremony commenced, the couple exchanged vows that echoed the depth of their commitment. The words were simple, but resonated with the trials they had faced and the love that had endured. Oliver, seated in the front row, beamed with pride as he witnessed the union of two souls who had stood by each other through the storms of life. Post-ceremony, a modest reception followed. Home-cooked dishes and handmade decorations adorned the table, embodying the genuine and unpretentious nature of the celebration. There were no grand gestures or opulent displays, just the warmth of familial love and the simplicity that had defined the couple's journey. As Ben and Rosie danced their first dance as a married couple, surrounded by loved ones, they knew that their journey was not just about the wedding day, but about the resilience of love and the strength of family ties. The Corvallis family, against the backdrop of trials and tribulations, had found their way back to happiness. In the embrace of forgiveness and the resilience of love, they began a new chapter, united and stronger than ever before. And so, the story of the Corvallis family found its happy ending, a poignant reminder that even in the face of adversity, love and forgiveness have the power to heal and rebuild.